Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and I have some nasty, if not bad, news for a Space Engineer series that we were running, so it went to hell. There was some weird bugs that ended up crashing my game all the time. I went through it, deleted all the mods, tried the release version dev build. It didn't matter what I did. I went back and forth. I kept having some crash issues. I could go through and salvage everything one by one. It might have been just one ship or something acting up out there. I have no clue. The error, the null pointer type error I was getting was very generic, so it didn't give me any clue to exactly what was causing it. And it's just taking too much of my time wasting around with it, and I'm not having fun doing it. So I just thought, you know what, it's best just to scrap it. This is Space Engineers, as you guys know. I'm sure you've had this happen to you from time to time. Space Engineers is, I guess, considered early access game. Unfortunately, it's probably one of the worst games out there on the market when it comes to bug fixes and performance issues and things like that, sadly, for the amount of money they've been getting. I mean, there might be some other titles out there, but I mean, for the amount of money they've got, their issues lie solely on the V-Rage engine. I mean, if these guys rewrote everything in Space Engineers and another engine, we would have been past what we're doing here. Look at Empyrean. Now, Empyrean has its own limitations and its own, features and functions and stuff like that, but Empyrean's only a year old. And if you were a person who played Empyrean when it first released, the very first day on Steam, and then played now, Empyrean is an insanely different game, and also performs pretty damn good. The problem with Space Engineers is, yeah, you might start with 60 FPS on a planet, but by the end of the week, you're already down to like 40 or 30 FPS. You don't really get that as much with Empyrean. Now, when you do big monster ships, yeah, sure, you will get hit with, performance issues and whatnot. But I've spawned, like 100 million plus block, stations and stuff like that into Empyrean for testing and stuff, and I was amazed by the FPS and the beauty and the look of it and things like that. Just overall, this is not saying the Empyrean team is better, it's that they're using a better engine, and a lot of people are like, oh, Unity is for arcade games, or Unity is for little indie crappy games, and Unity can't do this and that. But the thing is, Unity can do a lot, and I mean a lot, as long as you're willing to work with it. So Space Engineers is a bust again, or at least for this series. I would like to play again, but I mean, at this point, it's more like having to wait until some of the issues are fixed and resolved. I mean, that Let's Play or that save is pretty much damaged and not worth my time. But one thing I was wanting to do is multiplayer, but multiplayer has been probably the most buggiest thing so far in Space Engineers. I don't know if multiplayer dedicated is any better, but as time went on towards planets, dedicated became buggier and buggier. And then the funny thing is, when planets came out, things just seemed to get even more buggier, even though they were working on just bug fixes. I have no clue. I lost paying attention to it. I kept having more and more issues over time, and it sucks. It really sucks. And I bet you these devs are pulling out their hair every week. I feel bad for them, because they're probably playing with a lot of spaghetti code and a lot of old V-Rage engine code, where they're just like going through it, and it's like, we just can't do this and that because of limitations. Technically, there is no limitations, but if it'll spend 2 years rewriting parts of the code just to add a feature or function, yeah, I could see that being a bit of a headache, and it ends up being a limitation, because you can't just do that. Either way, I thought I needed to have this word with you guys. I wanted to have this face to face in a sense, just to tell you what was going on, and that the series is going to probably be discontinued now. I would like to play more Space Engineers. Like I said, I love the game. I mean, Empyrean's a different game. Empyrean doesn't have all the physics and all the cool stuff, and I think Space Engineers is its own beast and is a wonderful game. I think Empyrean is also a wonderful game in its own. So that's why I like Space Engineers a lot, and I wish I could see it do better. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to do better. I don't know. Every planet you add, you're adding like another gig or maybe 500 megabytes of RAM to your thing. Like the way everything is programmed and done is just ridiculous and silly at this point. Anyways, guys and girls, sorry about that. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.